Today at Manchester Theatres, I am with the very talented Kirsty Cox, who is currently touring with the fabulous play Houdini's Greatest Escape. It is coming to the Octagon Theatre in Bolton from the 3rd of April, and it promises to be an absolutely fabulous night. Now, Kirsty is a very, very multi-talented person. She works extensively across theatre, in film, on the screen, in radio, with audio recordings. Honestly, if you saw her CV, it is huge. And she does work a lot with New Old Friends Theatre, who are putting this show on. With them in the past, Kirsty has been in plays such as Crime on Centre Court, Crime Camera Action, Crime in Egypt, Crime in the Nile. There's a crime theme going on, but that's what the company are famous for. Of course, Kirsty, you've also worked with the London Rep Players, and you have done shows so varied, from Macbeth's Curse right through to The Boy Who Walked into the Moon. So we are in very, very good hands today. So thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
So I'm excited to hear all about this play. Now, we know there's a fictional story, but it is wrapped around this person who was a real life figure. And there's a few kind of real facts and things thrown in there. So can you give us a little bit of an overview as to what is going on?
Well, so it's based around Houdini, Harry Houdini, who everyone's very aware of. Maybe people are less aware of his wife, Bess, who performed with him. And also his brother, the great Houdini, who was also a performer. So I suppose this play is a piece of new writing, but it's based around those real characters, and sort of takes some of the the backstory of the Houdinis, but then the events of the actual play are fictional. But the Houdinis did travel to the UK a lot to perform, and already on the tour we've been at various theatres where we've been told that he performed here at another venue in the city and told us stories about the Houdinis when they were there. And so it's been a really interesting. It's a very interesting meld, I think, of the sort of fictional world of the play, but involving the real people and trying to kind of tell a bit of their story as well, especially Bess, I think, who's the kind of slightly forgotten one in the pairing,
Always the way. We always get us women. It's always about the men. So, yeah. And there's this idea, isn't it, that within the fictional story that someone is perhaps trying to set him up for a crime. So because he has been going around trying to expose what he believes are charlatan mediums, but that's true. He really did do that, didn't he? Not the crime bit, but he did try and expose them. So do you think he'd approve of this play then?
I'd hope so. I really hope so. So, because he famously, early on in his career with Bess, they did perform as mediums, frauds, and there's a line in the play where it's like, sort of that he regrets it now, but he was broke at the time, and then he sort of goes. There's a lot of stories around the fact that, especially in America, he did a lot of exposing fraud mediums live on stage, sort of thing, and so he comes sort of face to face with one in the UK, a character I play called Agatha, who's based around an actual medium that was working in the UK at the time, but he didn't expose her. So it's a kind of, there's sort of meldings of truth and fiction. But yeah, I'd hope he would approve. I'd hope so.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. And you've mentioned Agatha there. Now that is just one of the many, many characters that you play, because you multi-role your way through this whole show, from Agatha to an elephant. I mean, tell us a few of the roles that you play.
So really, there's 4 of us in the show, and Ben, who plays Harry, and Lydia, who plays Bess, they just stay as those characters. But myself, another actor, Adam, we multi-role all the other characters that the Houdinis meet on this sort of crime caper escapade. And I play this sort of Ma Barker, who's the sort of head of a local gang, and she's after them. And then Agatha, the medium, who's quite write a character. And then I play Jules, who is in a part of a sort of crazy circus they meet on a train, and she has an elephant. So I also play Nellie the elephant. And and then I play several policemen of varying sizes and descriptions. So it's sort of quite, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, well, do you know, you're probably the perfect person to ask, because multi-rolling in this show, but because you have worked with new old friends so much. Because I'm always curious when you see multi-rolling as to when you're in that rehearsal process, is there that kind of tipping point balance between finding the best possible creative character that you can, but then also what becomes physically possible? So for instance, like in this show, within one scene, I believe you go from this clown to an elephant to a clown to an elephant. I mean, so it's what's possible as well. So how do you like get through that in rehearsals?
There's a lot of experimenting, I think. It's normally quite a mixture, especially with this sort of shows that your friends do, because we don't have anyone on stage helping us either. So there's no stage hands on stage. We tour with a wonderful stage manager, Anna, who operates all the lighting and sound, but actually on the stage itself, there's just the four of us. So we have to do all the scene changes, and nobody's helping us with our costume changes either. So there's a lot of quick changes. So there's a lot of discussions during rehearsals with the costume designer and with the set designer and things, that kind of working out what's possible. And then also, obviously, you have to I always think with multi-rolling, it's often quite bold choices because they need to be very distinguishable, the characters, so obvious choices are things to do with their physicality. We also, as I said, we change costumes. So that really helps, like full kind of costume changes, not just a different hat, and then you've got your voice. And so there's often a lot of accents flying around when you're doing multi-rolling, because it's a really quick way for the audience to tune in as well, that you're, playing somebody else. So, yeah.
The mind boggles on it's, and it must be just brilliant for you as actors to be able to just ping about like that. It must be so much fun.
It's a lot of fun, very, very tiring, but a lot of fun.
Now, also, because this is a Houdini show, there is magic involved, and and you've had the Peter Firman on as a magic consultant, which is fabulous. So what have you learned, without giving too much away, because I know you can't, but what kind of things have you learned about magic?
The thing I think I mostly learned, which sounds really stupid to say, is that magic isn't magic. Like I think I'd always kind of gone, it's just magic, it just happens. So it was really interesting working with Pete. He's brilliant to kind of dissect the tricks to work out how they happen, and then we were really lucky during rehearsals when he came to work with us. So there are 4 tricks that we have in the show. And so he's working with us on those, but he happened to be performing we were rehearsing near Bristol, and he happened to be performing in Bristol one of those nights. So we were able to go and see him perform. But even then, I'd been working with him all day and learning how these tricks work. And then I sat watching him and I was like, how? So yeah, there's still magic out there, but it was a whole other skill. I've never done any magic before. So yeah, it's been really interesting, and he was great to work with.
And is it one of them things where, because you hear all of like the hushed magic circles and things, so when you're learning these things, do you kind of have to sign contracts saying, I will not give these secrets away? Is it taken that seriously?
I haven't signed anything, but I think the feeling is you don't really want to say, because you don't want to spoil the magic for other people. But also I think, the tricks are specific to, there's one trick that we do that is a sort of twist on one of the tricks that the Houdinis did, and their metamorphosis trick. So things like that, they have been sort of, the tricks that we're doing are not, they've sort of been seen before in different ways. Yes. So they would be ones that all magicians would know how to do, I think. But they all sort of, it's been interesting that sort of, the learning and then kind of putting our own twist on it. And because New Old Friends shows are very funny as well, kind of finding ways to find the humor. And that's what Pete was great at as well, because he does a lot of sort of stand up in his magic shows too. So,
yeah. Oh, I love it. I love magic. I love it. And something else I wanted to ask you about, because I keep hearing, like on the theatre grapevine, little bits about the set, but that's all anyone ever says. They just go, the set. And I'm like, why? What? The set? And that's all I ever get. Are you allowed to kind of tell us anything?
I mean, there's so the set is really, it's very beautifully designed by Catelyn Abbott, but it's like so within a theatre we set up basically our own proscenium arch. So it's got this sort of beautiful sort of big proscenium arch with sort of logos to do with magic and Houdini. And then it's got these beautiful kind of red velvet curtains. And then the sort of the other pieces that we use, so that's our kind of frame. And then the other bits that we use, sort of different steamer trunks and things. So the Houdinis are obviously traveling around. So we use those, but they transform into lots of different things. So that's the other kind of trick, is that, you know, you'll kind of close the curtains, reopen them, and there's something else, and then close them again and reopen them, and there's something else, you know. So that's the kind of another element of magic, I suppose.
I think that's what people have been referring to, because it's like, oh, you just need, it sounds good. And we keep mentioning New Old Friends Theatre Company, and as I said at the start, you have worked with them quite a few times. You know, they're building a brilliant award-winning reputation for, you know, their comical multi-rolling, the farce, the physical theatre, and all of these things. So is it those things, or what is it about them as a company that keep pulling you back in, why you keep wanting to work with them?
Oh, they keep asking me, which is but you know, I'm very lucky in that they keep asking me. They are, the shows are so much fun. And I think sadly the way the world has been in recent years, people going to the theatre often want something sort of fun that's going to kind of be uplifting, and I think it takes that. I often say that New Old Friends kind of shows do what it says on the tin. You know, they're fun, they're pacey, there's sort of multi-rolling, quick changes, lots of puns and wordplay, and you know, and it's just good old-fashioned fun, really, and so it's a lot of fun to do. And also, because you are working with such a small team on the road, it's you form quite strong bonds, which is lovely. And the same with the company behind the scenes when you're in rehearsals. The sort of the composer, the sound designer, the lighting designer, production manager, costume designer, set designer, they're all people I've worked with on the shows before, and they're all brilliant and such a great team. So they kind of, you kind of want to go back to work with the people as well. You know, the show is amazing and always great fun to do, but it's often the people that make it that extra special
and
thing.
I think that comes through on the stage as well. You can tell when you've got that family, real genuine bond of a company on stage in front of you, because you as an audience member, you want to be a part of that, and you're kind of taken on, you're welcomed into it, and you're taken on that journey, aren't you, for the duration of the show. So it's fab. I get that makes sense. Before we go, Kirsty, if you could ask Houdini or Bess a question about their work, now you're doing this show, what do you think you might ask them?
Oh goodness, how did you do it? The tricks, because some of them, like, I know how they've done. Well, one of them that we do again, the metamorphosis trick, but some of the other things, you just think, goodness, you know, like suspended off a skyscraper in a straitjacket, you know, and it just is terrifying. Probably that, like, kind of that insight, or and also to find out, I suppose, about why he's so driven to kind of expose these the mediums and things, kind of that side of it. And I know he didn't believe in, you know, the fact that it was sort of tricking people who've been recently bereaved, and, you know, the sort of morality of it, but quite why that sort of why he was pushed so hard on that, especially, would be interesting. So but I think they'd be fascinating characters to meet. I'd love to.
I know, right? It'd be amazing. It kind of opens up a whole world of possibilities for further shows within this genre, I think, for New Theatre, for New Old Friends. So fingers crossed, but we have this one to come first. So thank you so much for joining us, Kirsty. It's been absolutely brilliant chatting with you. And we can see Kirsty in Houdini's Greatest Escape at the Octagon Theatre Bolton from the 3rd of April. So we do not have long to wait, and it is just going to be, from what you've said, from what people have been telling me, so much fun. So come along, give yourself an Easter giggle and have some fun. Thank you so much, and all the best with it.
Thank you.